Hope you guys packed warm clothes because there's a blizzard on the way. Hello gang, and welcome back to the second video in the Primal Rage series. Today I'll be taking on the noble protector of evolution, the Arctic ice ape known as Blizzard. I'll be using the Playmates toy as reference, as well as some really great fan art that I found on Google done by some very talented individuals. I initially had already filmed this video and went in a totally different direction where I did a feathered Albertosaurus in the style of Blizzard. But then I scrapped that idea and wanted to sort of stay true to the character and use an actual ape-like creature. So I went on Amazon and searched around for King Kong figures to see what was available, and I found this Skull Island Kong figure that I thought would work really great. This one has very limited articulation, only 9 points, which is great because I won't have to battle my way through prepping a bunch of articulation spots like I would on, say, a NECA King Kong figure. The colors on this guy are very simple, just white fur with blue skin, so the painting is going to be a breeze. I do, however, want to keep the spirit of the original Playmates Blizzard by giving him a head of real white hair, so I picked up some faux fur off of Amazon, and I will link everything below in case anyone wants to tackle this custom. So enough yakking, let's go ahead and get started. So first off, I want to paint all of the blue parts, and I have some Createch Sky Blue in the airbrush, and I'll just start laying down a couple of thin coats of the blue. And if you guys don't have an airbrush and you are painting along with me, you're just painting by hand, so obviously just paint these sections by hand, starting with a nice light sky blue color. I'm not worried about being super neat here since I can clean up any blue overspray when I go and lay the white down. Now that the blue skin tone is done, I'm going to go in with some transparent dark blue ink and accent the shadow areas where all of his muscles are. So I'll hit underneath the chest area as well as accent his abs and wherever else there might be dark shadows like his eye sockets, the lines on his face, and between his fingers and toes. Now that all the shading is done, I'll go back through with some Vallejo Sky Blue and just lightly dry brush the raised areas to accent those spots, and that'll be it for all of the blue sections on Blizzard. Now we'll move on to painting his white fur, and since he is primarily a white creature, painting his fur is going to be fairly straightforward. I'm going to go in first with some straight white acrylic paint and dry brush all the raised areas. That way those parts will stick out when I go back over them with the airbrush. If you don't have an airbrush, you can just apply several passes with the dry brush until you achieve a nice even coat, and then thin your white paint down a little bit and apply thin layers of white until you get solid coverage all over. White can be extremely streaky and chalky if applied too thick with a brush, so a good rule of thumb is to apply it thin and use a satin finish white instead of a matte. You'll get a better finish and it won't look as chalky or streaky. Just go in light and take your time and build up that white tone. Now with all the dry brushing done, I'm going to go in with some Createch white sealer and begin to build up the white on the fur. Now this is a white paint plus sealer, so it will seal the paint in as I'm applying it, so it's sort of like two birds with one stone. The only place that I'll need to varnish or seal up will be the blue areas once I'm done. This is a very transparent paint, so I'll just work at building thin layers until I can get his fur nice and bright white. I'll then go back over one last pass with the dry brush with a different shade of white and just hit the raised areas one last time to give some white variation in his fur. Since this is white and white is very hard to film, this may not even show up on camera, but it's just an extra step you can do to break up the overall white color on his fur. So now that all of the main body is done, I can go through and start to pick out all of the little details. I'm going to paint his nails a dark blue color, and then I'm going to paint his mouth with some flesh tone, and then I'll add a shade wash to it once the flesh tone paint has dried. I'll then carefully pick out all of his teeth with an off-white color, and then I'll paint his eyes scarlet red. I'll then take a dark blue shade wash and wash it around the inside of the eye socket areas. That's really going to darken them up, but really help those red eyes cut through that dark blue skin. The final touch will be adding the real hair to his head. Like I said earlier, I wanted to give him the same overall vibe of the original Playmates toy, so I found some faux fur on Amazon that's very similar to the Santa beard that I used for my feathered T-Rex. So I just cut the fur to fit and then little by little glued it down to his scalp using hot glue. Pretty straightforward there. I had the idea of completely covering him in fur, but I think that would have been really overkill, so I'm just gonna stick with the hair and beard on him. I think it's a nice balance between real fur and plastic fur, and it doesn't really overdo it. This is the first time ever on the channel that I've had to comb and trim hair on a custom that I did. I feel like a barber over here. So once I get the hair styled and where I want it, I'll then take some very thin down Mod Podge and use it as sort of hair product to keep it locked into place. I'll then take that Mod Podge and seal the blue areas and gloss up the mouth and the eyes, and this big icy cold beast is done. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video and you found the information provided helpful and inspiring. And if anybody wants to attempt this custom, I'll be sure to leave the Amazon links to Kong and the faux fur down in the description box below. I'm having a blast making these Primal Rage characters, and I'm really looking forward to the madness that's going to happen next week when I tackle the big bad Diablo. It's something right out of Henry Wu's laboratory, I think. So stay tuned for that. It's going to be awesome. In the meantime, for more Jurassic related content, you know where to find me. Links will be in the description box below. You guys take care, and I'll see you around the compound.